Hello again. Today we're going to work on a portrait, a tonal portrait, which I know probably several of you have already tried. It's always worth doing again.
Bearded man.
Just to give you some inspiration, a couple of images where people have the artist has really just concentrated on just the tone, and it's really a beautiful way of working, very soft. This is Siri. He's he's one of the pointillists. He actually started pointillism, which is that type of painting with lots of little dots of colour. His drawings were incredible. See if you can look them up.
Portrait of a woman.
And the other one is by Peter Kollwitz. He did an awful lot of self-portraits. And see how kind of like it's just emerging from this this background of tone. So we're going to try and do something like that. So see if you can find yourself a good photograph of someone, preferably someone you know. Make sure in any case that it's printed up good and big, and it's got some really good contrast in it. Lots of darks, lights, mid-tones, because that makes it a lot easier to do this exercise.
You will need paper and charcoal pencil.
So I'm going to work on this photograph, from this photograph. Amazing photograph. I think I've showed it to some of you before. I love it. It's by Jane Bone, and I just love the expression on her face. So what I start off by doing is just giving myself some kind of where the features are, you know, just even the angle of them. And a little bit the shape of the head. Not too much until you're kind of sure of everything else. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it all a light kind of, it's like a wash, you know, just on the side of the graphite pencil. So that's just the background it's going to be on. And what you're doing is you're kind of where you find where the features kind of emerge out of this background. It's kind of all I'm doing is pressing a bit harder. Where they are. And you can use the edge of it, end of it, to sort of emphasize detail like that. I'm looking at kind of things like the angle, the distance they are from each other. See, I can use this to pick out something like the nostril, but then I can kind of go back to doing this just to, say for instance, get this whole area of tone here on this side of her face, which actually goes all the way up. So I can just do that.
Left side of the face.
And then I can kind of make it particularly dark right here.
Works on the lips and area around the mouth.
So you can, it takes a bit of practice doing it quite softly, but it's nice when you do that and then you've got this, and every now and again you can bring a bit of edge to it by using the point of a graphite. By the way, you could always use the side of a pencil if you don't have a graphite stick. And you can of course use this technique with so many materials like charcoal, pastel, compressed charcoal, or Conte Crayon. If any of you have got any of those things, you can totally use them.
Works on the chin.
And if I make a mistake, I can just erase it.
Above the eye.
Pastel you won't be able to so much. You won't be able to erase it. Just letting you know. But graphite you certainly can. And I think it gives a really nice feel, graphite. And it's slightly easier to control. And the other thing is that you can go in with a regular pencil and it's the same. It's obviously they're the same thing. Graphite is what pencils are made with. So you can work into it.
Pencils on the lips and cheek, then a graphite stick on the opposite cheek.
Really light here where the cheek is. Super light.
Points to the photo.
And then, you know, you can start looking at these shadow shapes, like where the eye is in this whole shape that's almost like a triangle. You see that? And the eye doesn't fill that whole triangle. There's a lot of tone around it. So, you know, for instance, I can kind of really get the shadow shape just in with, like in that sort of way. And then I can work in to where the eye is here. Just going really gradually to find it. Making sure I leave enough space between the two eyes. Luckily for me, this eye is hidden because it's so hard getting two eyes to work.
Adds shadows around both eyes, then draws lines for the hair.
Really good for doing things like hair because you can use it on its side like this and get these kind of great lines like that. Let's find her shape of her face a bit more like here, because then she has this hair that comes down like this. You can really, really have fun with this. So I'm just going to keep going for a bit. Here I'm kind of coming to kind of the end, but I could actually keep going and going.
Darkens background slightly.
And I'm thinking about the background and how I want the background to feel. I kind of like it just being suggested areas of tone like this. I'm also kind of bringing in, you know, you can bring in some really fine detail where you can really work with the expression. Of course, you can kind of bring the pencil in, that will really help. So with, you know, controlling that.
Adds more detail around the eyes, then the lips.
Because with portraits, it's the tiniest little things sometimes, like even just what you do at the mouth here, it just can determine the expression. So you can fine tune it. And even work into some kind of stronger tones, just like that.
She darkens the clothing. Then draws more lines of hair. Barnsdall Junior Arts Center, Department of Cultural Affairs.